Good morning, afternoon, everybody. My name is Mike at Filmboy24. And if you've ever wondered what's on that old roll of Super-8 or even 16mm movie film that's sitting inside the old camera that's staring you in the face at that flea market, well, that's kind of my specialty. And if you want to see what's on this particular roll right here, I'm going to show you. That's right, we're back with found film number 47. 47 times. I've actually done it a couple more, but for all intents and purposes, 47 times. Something a little bit different today. But before I show you what's on that roll, let me remind you that this Sunday, which is the 26th of February, live stream. You're gonna have to bear with me because I've never done a live stream before in my life, and I'm a little bit nervous if I'm being honest. It's at noon, not midnight, not when you're sleeping, at noon Eastern time. I'm here in Florida in the States. So if you want to tune in, check the time zones and find out when I'll be airing in your neck of the wood, in your area. So what we have today is more found film. Found film, if you're new to my channel, is an old roll of film, typically kind of old, 30 to 50 to 60 years old, that was in a camera or a camera bag or just at a garage sale laying out loose or a flea market, or basically an old roll of film that's fully exposed or mostly fully exposed. There's a lot of mostlys and maybes. And then never processed. Years and years went by and it's never been processed. Well, movie film is sort of my speciality. So I really enjoy processing old cinefilm. I do a ton of still film as well, but I have more fun, I think, doing cinefilm. So early on, when I started processing movie film, I wanted to practice a little bit, and I remembered I had bought some used cameras and they had old rolls of film in them. So I used those as my practice, and I was kind of surprised that I got kind of groovy old movie images out of them. So as long as we don't get wildly inappropriate images or movies or films, which we've only had one time before, then I'm going to show you what I get from each and every roll. Now I have somewhere around probably about 100 rolls of movie film left. That's found film. Some of it is fully exposed, some of it is partially exposed, and I have to finish off the roll till we can find out what's on it. I get to them as I can. Usually I post about once a week. So what we have today is Sears. And Sears film is an old film stock that does have remjet that I'm not overly familiar with. So I did some experimenting with this roll, and I dunked some strips into my little test contraption that I made. By the way, let me show you a picture of my goofy little strip tester that I made. That's just out of cardboard and just some old little tubes that animal feeder syringes come in. But it works perfect for me, and what I do is I test, and I test with mostly just the times. The temperatures I know are always going to be between 66 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. That's around 20 degrees, 19 to 20 degrees Celsius. So I test for times, and I tested this particular roll of Sears film, and I got somewhere around 3 minutes with it. Now, I don't like to go a whole lot under 3 minutes for any of my processing. So what I did is I actually did it for 3.5 minutes, this particular roll, with HC110B. HC110 is a Kodak black and white developer. It comes in a liquid, like a syrupy liquid form, and it's concentrate. And I like it a lot because it's a good middle of the road to high-end developer, and it lasts forever. Forever. Well, probably not forever, but a long, long time. So I use it as I need it. You make up a batch, you develop a couple rolls of film with it, and yes, I do reuse my HC110B one time, so I use it twice. And that's what I did with this roll. I processed it, and I was a little trepidatious going into this particular roll because I don't have much luck with this really old stuff. Now, this doesn't have the traditional ED code. ED is not on this code. Doesn't have the traditional edge codes like Kodak does, so it's hard to date this film. However, with this batch that I got a few months back, there were 8 boxes for the 11 rolls that I got. The boxes all had expiration. They were all different, but they all had expiration dates in the 70s. So we could probably put this particular roll sometime in the 70s. Let's go with that. Let's go with the 70s. Speaking of that, I did buy an 11 roll batch. I paid hardly anything for it. It all came from Maple Shade, New Jersey. That's where where I got it from. I got it online. There was one roll of film. This is a couple of others that are going to be due up pretty soon. Now, I haven't processed these, but in a lot of cases, I pull the film in the dark room and put them in these black bags so I don't have to deal with that later. I can just wind it onto my Lomo tank. So one of these cartridges, and this is a photo mat, by the way. It's a little different. I've never processed photo mat before, but I did some tests and I got some faint images. One of them had a name and address on the front. I'm not going to give you that name and address right now. We might get into that later when I process that roll. But the hometown, or the return address here, was Willingboro, New Jersey. Now, that's a little township in New Jersey. So think back, Willingboro, New Jersey in the 70s. That's when we can kind of date this particular roll of film. This one was fully exposed. About three, I think there was 3 of the 11 rolls that were fully exposed. I processed 2 already, and the second one that I processed with this was partially exposed. About 38 feet was exposed, and we'll get into that roll in a future episode. So I'm thinking about sort of lumping this 11 roll batch together. Remember how we did Cameraman Mike's, or are doing Cameraman Mike's 56 roll batch of sound film? If you're not familiar with that, take a look at that playlist. That one's getting fun. I might do it with this. I don't know I don't know if we need a playlist for it, or I'll just reference it each time I process one. That's probably what I'll do, or maybe I'll throw it in a playlist. I don't know. As of right now, I'm just going to call it the Willingboro batch. Anyway, like I said, this does have remjet on it for all you processing buffs out there. So you have to deal with that black goopy stuff, that anti-halation layer they put on the base of the film, which I did. And I have a little process that I used. And I had to take most of it off in the final stage of this. A lot of it didn't come off at the beginning when I do my remjet bath, but it did loosen it a little bit, and I got some specks out of there. Bear in mind, I'm about to show you this film, but bear in mind, this is really old. It's a very defunct process, and I process it as a black and white negative. So really, you can only scan it. You can't project it. You probably could do it as a reversal. I just don't do reversal film. There's a lot of fog because of age and terrible storage conditions. There is some like jitter, flickering of the image. I will tell you, that's the original film shooter. That's not the scan, the process, or anything on my end. So look for that jitter, and I'll just tell you that's not me. It's very muddy. There's not a lot of detail in it. But I'm doing too much of this. Let me show you what we got. Here it is. Well, we got a ribbon cutting. We have a grand opening, maybe. I don't know. I don't know Willingboro, New Jersey. I don't know what that building is. I don't know what they're celebrating. I don't know what kind of ribbon cutting that is. It's obviously a business or a church or some kind of an opening. It gets really dark when we get into the inside of the building, so it's difficult to see. This would be like this is an example of when a sound film would have been really, really good, because we probably would have known exactly what they're doing at that ribbon cutting. There's a couple little things, like about halfway through, there's a station wagon with the placard, the advertising thing on top, like the old taxi cabs, and it has two names. It has Hank something and Bob Miller. So I can't make out what the last name, Hank's last name is. Maybe you can. I've tried. I've really zoomed in on my scan, the original, I just can't figure it out. So that might help a little bit. There is a flag early on when you see the American flag, and then you see the other flag there blowing in the wind, and it does say Willingboro on the flag. So I know it's a business or establishment somewhere, or was an establishment somewhere in Willingsboro, New Jersey. If you know that township, or you live there, or you're familiar with it, maybe you recognize it, and you can let us know, or you can share the video, this video, with someone in your hometown that may know what that is, or where it is, or what's going on. I hope you enjoyed this fun little found film. These are so much fun for me, and I think it's super important that these get out there to the world, way out there, like farther than I can reach. See how that is? I think it's important that we all get to enjoy these little pieces of Americana and history. History. I didn't like history in school. That's been a while. If you enjoyed this video, do me a super, super huge favor, and can you see it? Hit that little thumbs up. It's right there on the bottom. I don't know why I always put it up there, but it's on the bottom. It just takes a second. And if you would, if you feel like I've earned it, you know, maybe subscribe, become part of the goofy family that we have here at Filmboy24. We have a lot of fun. I got some cool things planned. Don't forget, I got a live stream in 4 days. Now, if you're watching this after that, then there's not a live stream in 4 days. Sundays, that's when I plan on doing my live streams. Now, I forewarn you, my house will have my family in it as well. So you may see a, Piper walk in front of the camera from time to time. Or, hey, I'm hungry, or something like that. Just bear with it. It's live. We're on live TV. And until the very next time that I see all of your beautiful faces, you know what's coming. I'll do a small one. There it is, there it is, there it is. The head. I'll see all of you on the very next go-around.